Capitol Hill, where we are watching for new developments connected to the January 6th siege on the U.S. Capitol. The House next hour set to vote on a bill to set up security around the Capitol. And in the Senate, we're expecting to hear from party leaders about a bill approved in the House last night that would establish an independent 9/11-style commission to look into exactly what caused the January 6th attack. NBC's Leanne Caldwell is on Capitol Hill. She's been covering all of the angles. Leanne, despite 35 Republicans in the House breaking from their party and voting for the commission, Democrats have major hurdles in the Senate. Where do things stand? Does this have any chance of passage in the Senate, Leanne?
Well, Kristen, they sure do have major hurdles, and those hurdles are Republicans, led by Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who, as we know, came out yesterday against this commission. And based on our conversations with senators over the last 24 hours since McConnell's announcement, it seems like most of them are following his lead. Now, we're going to be watching the 7 Republicans who voted to impeach the former president over this issue and where they land. They are the most likely to support a January 6th commission. But I spoke to one of them yesterday, Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina, and he indicated that he's not supportive of the commission at this point. So it's going to be a very difficult challenge for Senate Democrats to pull 10 Republicans over to their side in order to pass this through the Senate. But regardless, Senate Majority Leader Schumer has put on the calendar a vote for this that could come up as early as next week. Meanwhile, over in the House, the fact that 35 Republicans rebuked the leadership and voted to support this commission is quite extraordinary, considering the fact that leadership, they were actually whipping and trying really hard to get their members to oppose it. You had the 10 Republicans who voted to impeach the former president, and then 25 more who thought this commission should move forward. Now, as if there was not enough January 6th news out there, today the House is also voting, as you mentioned, on a $2 billion security supplemental. Well, House Republican leadership is also urging their members to vote against that as well. So we will see how much of a party line vote that is, Kristen.
Leanne Caldwell, another busy day for you on Capitol Hill. Leanne, thank you. I'm joined now by Congressman Dean Phillips, Democrat from Minnesota and vice chair of the Bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus. Great to see you, Congressman. Let's just dive right in. Look, on the one hand, you have 35 Republicans who bucked their own party and they voted for this commission. On the other hand, you have a number of Republicans who are opposed. Even Mike Pence's own brother, Congressman Greg Pence, voted against the measure. So where do things stand right now? What does that tell you about the politics of this?
Well, Kristen, like so many of us, it's staggering that we're even talking about this. If there was ever a time for unanimity in the United States Congress, one would think it would be right now. You know, I was in the chamber that day. I saw what happened with my own eyes. I walked on the ground in which blood was spilled and lives were lost. And it's staggering that this is somehow politicized. Rest assured, Kristen, and everybody knows watching, if the mob, the insurrectionists, were wearing BLM shirts or carrying pride flags, you don't think this would look a little bit differently right now? I suspect it would. But what's really important is to at least honor the 35 Republicans who had the political courage in a time where there is very little of it here in Washington and around the country to take a stand. And the erosion of our collective principles in this country about what we do during times like these is really concerning. But at least I see some sunlight with those 35.
Congressman, one of the arguments that we're hearing, including from moderate Republicans like Susan Collins, is a real concern that this commission could spill over into an election year, and then it just becomes a big partisan show. Does that have any merit? Does that concern you? And what do you make of those arguments?
Well, Kristen, truth should never be subject to artificial timelines. Do I think it would be in the country's best interest to complete it before the end of the year, which is how the legislation is written? Absolutely. And it can be done that way. It should be done that way because our country can ill afford more politicization of an issue that never should be in the beginning.
Some Republicans have said, hey, let's expand this. Let's explore other issues where we have seen political violence. Would you support some type of a compromise in order to have this broader commission, which would also look into January 6th?
Well, this is not necessarily an either or. This can be an and. January 6th is a distinct event in U.S. history. An insurrection, the first time the Capitol was violated since, I think it was 1814. It needs to have a distinct bipartisan commission to investigate it. That makes perfect sense. But political violence more broadly, darn right we should investigate it. Gabby Giffords was shot some years ago. Steve Scalise, another current colleague, shot just a couple of years ago. We have concerns in this country. Everybody's aware of them. And should we investigate how to change that, how to protect our communities, our Congress, and everybody in our country? Darn right we should. And I'm not opposed to that at all. But January 6th is a distinct event, and we need to take action. We did yesterday, and I'm hopeful the Senate is going to do the same thing.
Congressman, should it fail in the Senate, we know that House Speaker Pelosi has floated the idea of going it alone. If that were to happen, of course, the concern would be that this would be cast purely in a political spectrum. But would you support that? If it doesn't pass the Senate, should Democrats go it alone?
Absolutely. But I think we're doing it exactly the way we should, and we're doing it the way, frankly, if it was reversed, that we should as well, which is give the Congress a chance.
But, Congressman, would it strip it of its legitimacy if this were a purely Democratic investigation?
If it was a purely Democratic investigation, yes, half the country would probably not believe the results, which is just a shame, because we have got to get to the truth. That's why we're pursuing it the way we did, a bipartisan commission, negotiated in a bipartisan way by my friend and colleague John Katko on the Problem Solvers Caucus. It had broad support. 35 Republicans supported it. We know what's right, and this is how we should do it. But if the Senate won't get on board, yes, absolutely, we should devise a select committee to investigate, so at least the history books will show that this Congress did something in light of one of the most dangerous days in our history.
Congressman Phillips, thank you so much for joining us on another busy day on Capitol Hill.
Thank you,
as that bill heads to the Senate.